It's that time again.
Yep. We are Team Wester.
And you are the most important thing to us.
Team Wester
Podcast. It's all about the team.
Welcome back to another exciting edition of the Team Wester podcast. I'm Clay Moden with Brad Gelbert. Brad, good to see you. We've had some amazing times here so far this year on the podcast. Hard to believe how fast a year has gone. Favorite memories of yours? Anything that really sticks out?
Yeah, well, it's good to see you too, Clay. It's been a while since it's just the two of us. But looking back, it's been, as you said, we've had so many different interesting guests throughout the whole first season. It's kind of crazy to think we started this back before the Buffalo football season, and now we're where we are in the winter here. But I think it was great to start off with a friend of ours, Del Reed from 26 Shirts. He's been a long time kind of partner with Wester here, and we've done a lot with that organization and what they do to give back. It's really kind of woven into the fabric of Wester. And so I think looking back on that, we kind of got to hear some cool stories from him and learn a little bit about, the Bills Mafia and how that all started back in the day. I don't think if people may not know kind of that story, we all know about it, but the actual origin story of that was kind of cool to learn about.
Yeah, I'll try to give you the abbreviated version. It's like a half-hour podcast. Okay. But it was basically an inside joke between myself and a few other Bills fans on Twitter, just defending the team. Buffalo fans can be so oversensitive, but we're no different. We're oversensitive. We're quote unquote protecting Stevie Johnson in terms of a retweet that came a day later. It sounds so weird when you say it out loud, right? It's like, what were you mad about?
Well, the football wasn't so great for quite a number of years there. So.
Yeah, exactly. But it was an inside joke that kind of took off. It became a movement among Bills fans that was not about just supporting the team on the field, but also supporting the players off the field and supporting the community. And that's what I'm most proud of, is that all the stuff that happens, between the goal lines or whatever, but whatever is going on the field is one thing, but we have proven that it is so much bigger than that. Our fandom is more than just fandom for a professional sports team. It's a love for our community.
Yeah, Dell's obviously very proud of everything that's come so far, along the way with his organization and how it kind of gelled into with Buffalo football and how that's gone on, and the story about how they actually came together, because it was a separate thing.
Sure.
I thought that was interesting when he shared that perspective.
Yeah, and it was interesting to hear kind of, the story of his actual organization and their mission, which maybe for people that aren't aware, they see the cool shirts, but they don't understand that each one has its own kind of unique family it helps out, a person it helps out that's going through a really tough time in their life.
26 obviously was the every 2 week. The idea started that you'd have a shirt every 2 weeks, but I understand you're doing more than that these days.
Yeah, as I mentioned a moment ago, it was going to be a 1-year community service project that I did. A different shirt every 2 weeks, a different family we would be helping. 52 divided by 2 is 26. It made sense at the time. I spent the past almost 9 years explaining it to people.
Yeah.
But as the audience grew, as everything just grew, we realized that there was more opportunities to do more good, and the wait list kept getting longer and longer, and I felt bad, like, oh yeah, I can help you, I'll talk to you in 9 months. And so what we decided was, at that point we felt like we could be diverse enough where the shirts wouldn't be competing against each other,
right,
in terms of the variety of the designs and everything. And so we just started doing it. It's still a 2-week campaign that we give every family, but now we do it every week.
So how does this work? Do you hear from the families, then come up with a design, or is it design and then pick the family?
It's usually the families will reach out to us. So right now we're running at about 4-month wait list. So there's no way that we could have a design planned for, January per se. Actually, that playoff football, we have a couple designs already, but as a rule, so the families will often reach out, and we'll ask them, do you have a preference? Are you more of a football fan or a hockey fan? And not to make jokes, but when the hockey team is doing better, it's a more of a relevant question.
True.
But we'll ask them, what are some of their preferences? And I tell them straight up, just so you know, if I can steer it that way, I will. But our goal is to raise as much money for you as possible. We're trying to tap into whatever, Western New York or the Western New York expats, because we ship a lot of shirts out of state, whatever they are excited about. We want to give them that. So so to answer your question, that's a really long way to say families first, design second.
How does have you ever had to say no? I mean, how do you determine worthy's not the word, but how do you determine the family you want, or how does that go?
There's honestly, in the almost 9 years now, there's only been like 1 or 2 times where I said, I'm sorry, I don't think this is a fit. But to that point, one thing that we've tried to refocus in the past, 6 months or so is we were doing a lot of work for local nonprofits, and all their work is worthy, and we'll still continue to support them however we can. But the special editions and the comebacks, those are the designs that we re-release. We normally do those every Wednesday. Those would normally go to a local nonprofit. We've decided that we kind of got away from our mission, I felt like. So, we're giving that family that we launch on Monday, we're giving them another campaign on Wednesday. We want to give them another kick at the can, because it would get frustrating sometimes when we would launch a shirt on Monday and it would do, and then we'd launch the one on Wednesday and it would, get knocked out of the park.
Right,
and,
top of mind awareness type thing.
Right, and just maybe it was a better design for that fit or something, because we take a lot of swings, so they're not all going to be home runs. But
right.
Maybe we hit a single on Monday, but we hit a triple on Wednesday. Our mission is to support families in tough situations. And so we've had to, lately I've had to tell some, different nonprofits, hey, listen, if I can help you another way, I'm absolutely here to do it. Right now, though, the majority of our t-shirt campaigns are going towards families. Now, we have a lot of other stuff that's long-standing on the website that we keep that continues to support nonprofits and stuff, and it's not a hard, fast rule, but that's something we're really trying to do is support the families as much as possible.
Another exciting guest that we had, one of my favorites, certainly, talking to Dawson Knox. What an interesting guy.
Yeah, he's just so humble and down to earth, even though he, is a star in the NFL now. And just hearing from him, especially a really important topic that West Herr is very involved in with, pediatric cancer, from the Punt Foundation that Dawson's a part of. He had a campaign that we actually had throughout our stores here called Knox's Socks. Just a really interesting thing to learn about from the player's perspective, and a foundation he holds really near and dear to his heart. If you look down, I'm actually wearing a pair of them right now.
Go. I love
but for people that don't know, Dawson has released a series of socks with Bare Feet, I believe is the company with their name. All different designs, really cool stuff from Buffalo football. Your face is literally on my feet right now. There's all different cool stuff, but the proceeds go towards the Punt Foundation, which is pediatric cancer. It helps with that. And here at West Herr, we're donating $1 extra for up to $10,000 for every pair that are purchased. So how did you become involved with the Punt Foundation and this campaign? Because it's a really cool idea. Like, how did this all come to be?
Yeah, so long story short, my rookie year, Lee Smith introduced me to the Punt Foundation ladies. Went to the Children's Hospital, was able to go out and meet some of the kids, meet some of the families, and just bringing a smile to a family that's going through one of the worst things you can imagine was instantly just so satisfying to be able to, anyone that puts on a Bills jersey can go in and light up a room there, which was just so cool to see, because I've seen it firsthand in my family. One of my cousins, several years back, he's very fully healthy now, but he dealt with a rare form of bone cancer. So I saw firsthand the effect that it can have on a family, and it's just devastating. It's very, there's a lot of things that you don't know which way it's going to go. Like, there's a lot of question marks you have, but any type of relief you can give to the family, whether it's financially or just, bringing a smile, it's pretty awesome. So I fell in love with them pretty quick. And now this will be the second year doing Knox Socks, which I kind of just got the idea of. Every time we go to the hospitals, all the kids are wearing just these gray generic hospital socks. And I was like, you know what? It'd be cool for them to at least slip on some colorful Buffalo, anything on it with some color that they can act like they, it's their own socks instead of just putting on the boring gray stuff. So, thankfully, Knox rhymes with socks.
I was gonna say, it kind of helps that your name is built in.
Yeah, I mean, not a whole lot of creativity had to go into that, but For Bare Feet is the company that we partnered with, and they've been incredible with all these different designs. Like that one, I haven't even seen that one yet. Yep. I think that's the Nashville edition with the guitar
Dawson's
and some
face
stuff
on there and a lot of good stuff, music notes.
Exactly, yeah. So they do a great job, and they give 25% of all the proceeds directly to punt. And then you guys do an additional $1 on top of that, which is incredible. So last year they raised a ton of money, and hopefully, we'll do it again this year.
When you see Buffalo fans contribute to something, they don't just kind of get in; they're all in.
Oh yeah,
has that been pretty impressive? I mean, it doesn't really matter what the organization is or what. I mean, obviously this is something that we really get behind, but the fans show up not just on game day, but all year round. Obviously we had to go into a little more detail about Dawson's hair, because every time you watch a game, it seems like the commentators are even bringing it up. He was pretty funny about that too.
Yeah, and you look at him on set, right, and it's hard not to notice, but just hearing a little bit about the routine he went through. I think you asked him the question, what product do you use?
Right.
And I think we convinced him maybe to work towards getting a hair care deal though in the off season here. And I know I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you this question. Shout out to Matt Lasher, marketing director, my boss here. He wanted to know, what product do you use in your hair, because you have the best hair on Team West Herr, so we have to
let's
ask
go.
you
Thanks,
about
guys.
that.
Just usually condition it like once or twice a week.
You got Matt?
I'm not a big shampoo guy or anything like that. I kind of just run some water through it and go. And if I don't want to take the time to make it look good, I just throw on the hat like I am right now. Yeah. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate that. Appreciate that question.
And speaking of hair, we had a rare opportunity to talk to one of the top stylists in Buffalo and all of the country, really.
Yeah, it was great to sit down with Jesse Sifa from Chief's Barber Parlor, Josh Allen's hair barber, and actually cuts my hair too. So It was cool just to hear from him and get the perspective of what it's like to be, quote unquote celebrity barber here in Buffalo.
Yeah, how does a guy from Buffalo get such a big status? How does he get these guys to come in? It was really cool what he shared with us.
So I was going to Niagara for sport management. I actually wanted to work for ESPN. But my grandfather cut hair. So when I started, he had a little shop right in his basement, and I'd bring all my friends down there and cut. Actually, I have his original barbershop sign right behind us here. But no, I was never like a goal of mine. I kind of just stumbled upon it, and maybe 6 months to a year in, I decided to drop out of school and do it full time, and I love what I do, so I can't complain.
Well, obviously, it's worked out very well for you. Yeah. Then what's the progression to becoming the guy that the Bills call on, or the guy that Buffalo football calls on?
It was just getting more experience in the industry, like taking more classes, and then people start recognizing your work. And then it was actually one of the trainers who saw me on Instagram, was like, okay, this kid can cut hair. I'm going to go try him out. He came in, loved his cut so much that he started sending in some of the players to me. It was pretty cool.
And it's pretty cool, too, because full disclosure for people watching, Jesse actually cuts my hair now, too. So I got to give him a shout-out for that. He's cutting quite a few people at West Herr, and the notoriety grows and kind of, who you are. But, you and I have had this discussion off camera before. It's barbering and, however you want to term it, has come like a long way in terms of the industry as a whole. Like it, I think a lot of us think maybe about a barber back in the day, like your grandpa went to a barber and sat down in a chair and it had the twirling red and blue, pole outside. And it's like very old school way, but like barbering's really an art now. Like there's a whole community behind it. And you've done some cool stuff with, people that live across the country with barbering. So for you, like, how do you kind of treat it like in that art form? And you said you go to classes, but like keep growing that art form essentially.
You hit the nail on the head. Honestly, it is an art form. Growing up myself, I was getting cut by my grandfather, and it was exactly that. It was $5 haircuts, going in, slapping some aftershave on you, and sending you on your way, a little talc powder. But now it's like you see the funkiest haircuts ever. You got kids in high school walking around with perms and the mullets coming back, and just keeping up with trends.
How do you keep up with the trends? Because it's like you've got to learn how to cut a different variety of doing it, or different style. Is that a work in progress for you, or do you have to ask advice of people who are also in the industry?
No, absolutely it is. Like I am constantly growing and still taking classes, but fashion, honestly, like especially with men's hair, kind of starts in Europe, and then you'll see like a lot of the men's soccer players wearing certain things, and then eventually it comes this way. So a lot of the barbers that I've taken their classes from and learned from are like European, UK barbers, and just see what they're doing, see what kind of work they're putting out, and start to implement it in my own work.
So one of the guests that really sticks out from this past season was the fact that we got to eat Sup Chef cooking right here on set with us.
Yeah, it was great to meet Alexander Dispense. He was a local chef here, but I think that when we were filming this, maybe people didn't realize there actually a line started forming around with how good the food smelled, not just from the wings he does in the NFL season here, but we got to taste those chicken wing sliders as well.
And you know, buffalo wings are a tradition here. We call them wings, obviously, but around the NFL, there was actually other teams that he was cooking for and preparing for. What a cool conversation.
And being in Buffalo, obviously, like wings are a big deal. So looking at your social media, some of the stuff you said, you know, you have a lot of different of these pizzas that you've made, different cool kinds of pizzas, different wings. Like, how do you come up with these ideas? Because you don't just always go with the basic, like, medium wings that you get at like a bar or something.
Yeah.
You get some really cool, unique style. So where do you think of that stuff? Is it like user generated, like someone DMs you and is like, hey man, like try this cereal coated chicken wing, or like, how do you come up with some of the more creative ideas that you have?
Well, a lot, yeah. So I'm pretty good at coming up with ideas, right? Whether it's for wings or whatever. But I will say that, so I'm doing a wing right now for every football team. So every city would get a wing, right? So we just did, like for Atlanta, we did a peach cobbler, and then we turned the peach cobbler into a barbecue sauce, and then made a barbecue, like a peach cobbler barbecue wing. What did we do yesterday? For New Orleans, we did a pecan praline Cajun wing, right? So take like a little bit of their city, whether it's their football, whether it's their culinary history, and we kind of use that and turned it into a wing. We did New England clam chowder for the Patriots, right? We did a regular buffalo wing for Buffalo. So, yeah, so it's been, it's actually challenging though. So I have I think we're at season or episode 12 or 13, and there's that many
left.
more to go. And,
I wonder what you're going to do for the Seahawks.
or Jacksonville,
Or
right?
Jacksonville,
right?
yeah,
So
right. The Panthers,
That's when
geez.
so Carolina, right? Barbecue, right? Kansas City barbecue, right? So there's a lot of that, but there's some ones out there where you're like, man, what are they eating? Indianapolis, right? They have pork sandwiches. Okay, how do you turn that into a wing, right?
Sure.
So there is a lot of like, man, like my gears are trying to figure something out up there, but yeah, some are easy. You know, Nashville hot wings for Tennessee, but some are not so easy.
All right, so we're trying out these sliders today. These are your famous buffalo wing sliders.
He's letting us preview. I think he said this is like an early taste test.
Oh, okay. We get to try it out first. All
That's
right.
it. Yep. I don't know if they're famous, but I bet they're pretty good. So we'll try. Give them a try.
This is my
here.
first official Sup Chef food. So
Me too.
Oh,
Me
yeah.
too.
I'm very excited about
You know,
that.
it's funny. Not a lot of people have really gotten a chance to try my food in person. So
Man,
All the perks here on the Team
I
Wester
can have,
podcast.
this is huge bragging rights right now. It looks amazing. I'm telling you, the
Very hot here
showroom
next
smells
to you.
amazing. Thank you. Let that cool for a minute.
Definitely gonna have to take a trip to the gym later on after
Oh, you'll be all
after
right.
this
You'll be all right,
delicious
my man.
this deliciousness here.
Oh,
I see
man.
you on Twitter. You'll be all right.
All right, here we go. Yeah,
Clay jumped in first.
I'm
there.
not scared. These are awesome. Perfect.
Delicious.
Honestly, we have 3 kids at home. They would love these too.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
this is the perfect. Dad's cooking tonight. We need a snack quick.
Yep.
Well, Sup Chef says go with the buffalo wing slider.
Yeah, that or I do this easy French bread, Italian bread pizza. Go to the Tops, get the loaf, and make a pizza with it. Oh my God, it's incredibly delicious, super easy. It takes 20 minutes or so. And yeah, that one goes crazy on social media. People love it.
So people watched you just make this kind of as we were talking, but I guess if you were just going to the store right now and you wanted to kind of do this, what would the steps take? How do you do this?
You go buy a rotisserie chicken and take all the meat off and add cream cheese, some cheddar cheese, and buffalo hot sauce and some blue cheese. I use the Diggs blue cheese and some herbs if you want. But yeah, you don't have to go crazy. It's super simple. Just mix it around until it looks about right. There's no crazy recipe I can come up with off the top of my head, but yeah, it's super simple. Super simple.
So we're getting into the winter months. You know, people are going to be stuck at home, maybe doing some cooking.
Yeah.
We can sort through some of your videos and get these tips right away, probably too.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, I would say my content, my videos are more inspiration. So for instance, like, oh man, I really want to make that. I don't give a lot of like step one, here's your chicken. Step two, I sometimes assume people are better cooks than maybe they are, but I think a lot of people can see something and figure it out. I mean, people are smart.
You know, here on the Team Wester podcast this season, Brad, we had an opportunity to talk to some really unique guests from here in Buffalo, across the country. You guys pulled in some top names.
Yeah, one of the ones that was actually really interesting one to sit down with was the guys from Just Dishin', which is a local apparel brand here in Buffalo. Really focused on hockey, but they've been all over the map doing some cool different things with skate skins, which is an application you put on your skate, and they've just really caught fire. And it was interesting to sit down and learn how a couple of Buffalo kids here could get their name out there in the sports world.
I think that's what me and Nick try to do as creators. Is just like, what is our sport missing? Like, what do we like to do? Like, combining all of our interests into one thing and just seeing things that you want to exist in the world is just like so powerful for us. And yeah, that's just pretty much how the skate came to be. Is like,
did you ever get in any trouble? So did Nike ever send you a cease and desist, or like, because I think it got picked up by ESPN, right? Didn't the story get picked up?
Yeah. So when we the first pair of skates we did were the Dior's, and we didn't really shoot any content with that. I think Matt actually sent that pair to Austin Matthews like a day after we got them. So like, we didn't really get a chance to go on the ice with them. But when we did this pair, we kind of sat down and we were like, we have to do something with this. And like, at the time I still had some of my equipment from juniors that matched like the skate perfectly. I had like black and red pants. I had black and red gloves. Like, you know, I was like, yo, let's just shoot a couple photos. It'll be dope. Like, it'll be cool. Not having didn't think this would go viral at all. Like, we shot a few like videos on our phones, nothing crazy. And then, you know, again, took a photo, posted on Instagram, got a couple hundred likes, and we were like, oh, that's cool. A lot of people were saying like, no, that ain't it. Oh, that's really dope. So it was like, there was no in between.
Yeah.
So it was very interesting for us. And it was a very interesting time too, with obviously the Skate Skins brand growing the way it's been. And we would get ice at Riverworks like once or twice a week just to make skate skins content. So one day we were out just messing around. Matt had put them on, and Derek got a real nice clip of Matt tying them up. And I ended up taking that clip and making like a small like Instagram reel, and I posted it. And next thing I know, we had a relationship with the guys at Barstool for a while before this, but one of our buddies from the Spit and Chicklets podcast at Barstool was like, yo, can you send us this video? We want to post it. So we're like, I'm like, this is like the worst video I've ever edited before. And I'm like, I didn't really know what to think, but I was like, yeah, sure. Like, go ahead. And next thing we know, like, we're getting featured in Hype Beast. We're getting now the Athletics reaching out to us, asking us like, what's going on, and basically wanted to like know our story. And ESPN, like you said, picked it up, and then Barstool even posted it on their main page. And we were like, damn, like, this is nuts. And it was honestly like a game changer, I think, for the brand as a whole. It was a very fun time, and it's crazy to even talk about to this day, because making that video that Friday morning that I did, I never would have expected it to go the way it did, and it's opened so many doors for us, and I couldn't be more thankful for that, for real. Like,
you know, Brad, we've had some really cool guests on the show, obviously some great players too. We talked to Reed Ferguson, who he's not from Buffalo, you know, like many of the players, but you never know that. He's as down to earth as it gets.
Yeah, and he's just such a great person beyond being a football player. Obviously, we got to hear a little bit about the Grills Mafia, which made us hungry, and then we got to hear about his involvement with the veteran foundations and some of the things he does there. Just a really unique person.
You know, and he also offered some really unique player perspective on what was it like on the sidelines, the first game back in Buffalo, after the DeMar incident. You know, what was the energy like? Obviously, we saw it in the stands, but from a player perspective, here's what Reed said about that.
But, I mean, that opening kickoff was like, I think Josh put it great in his post-game presser. He said it was a spiritual moment.
Right.
And it was, especially for everybody involved in the previous Monday night game. So, I mean, it's probably not great for a podcast, but like, it left me speechless.
Right.
I don't really, it's hard to put into words what it meant. And I always tell people, like, as a snapper, I wish I could celebrate touchdowns more.
Sure.
Because, but it's hard to, because in my job, I try to stay as level-headed as possible, whether it's a punt or a field goal or an extra point, whether we're up by 3 touchdowns or we're kicking one, you know, to win the game against Miami a few weeks ago. I try to stay as level-headed as possible. But like when that happens and the opening kickoff after that week that we just went through, and the fans too, like that was probably one of the most emotional moments of my career for sure. It was the first extra point. I joke with Sam after I snapped it. I was like, I just tried to put it on you, just try to throw it back there to you, and he was like, "No, it's all good." But we were pretty amped.
And
incredible game.
Yeah, and in terms of like, I think people maybe don't always realize like the special teams unit is like its own little family in a sense. It's got you, Tyler, and Sam this year. So, like you said, you're out there for that moment. Like, and the kickoff's a little different, but like with Sam kicking it off and stuff like that. For you guys as a special teams unit, like what is it like comparatively, because you got the offensive unit, the defensive unit, and there's not as many of you maybe in that little family, but you guys are really close, it seems like. Yeah,
we're really tight, and I think that just comes with the territory of spending pretty much every waking moment together. For Sam got here week 1, but for the most part you're spending a whole off season, a couple months in April, May, June with your guys, and then like I said, spending just about every waking moment through training camp and through a 20+ week season. I mean, you're dang near spending more time with these guys than you are with your family sometimes. So it's hard not to build those relationships up to a level where they absolutely feel like family. When you see them every day.
Well, Brad, certainly an exciting season here on the Team Western podcast. So many great guests. Obviously, we wanted the season to continue a little longer for Buffalo football, but there's always next year. So what do we have between now and next year planned?
Yeah, Clay, obviously we're really excited to get back into it come June, and I think football fans are, probably welcome a little bit of a break here so they can recharge. But for us, we're really excited to extend this beyond just football. I mean, there's so many great stories going on at West Herr, part of Team West Herr on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. So we're excited to have some of the leadership here at West Herr, whether it's Scott Beeler, Beth Hollis, Jay Galligan, some of the leaders here at West Herr, come on and talk a little bit about what's going on, at West Herr. Some community leaders we're hoping to have on, whether it's from our partners at Roswell, Oshai, some of the organizations that West Herr is very involved with, Explore More Children's Museum. So we're hoping to have different community members of Western New York on the podcast as well. And if people have any specific requests, we'll certainly do our best to make that happen as well.
Yeah, you mentioned Roswell and all the great events you've got coming up, the Ride for Roswell this summer. Certainly great partnership to be a part of. Really looking forward to all that stuff. And it's fun to see the journey kind of continue. Excuse me. Obviously, we love football. We're talking a lot about that. But West Herr plays a part in Western New York all seasons, like all year round. So there's a lot of good stuff coming up.
Yeah, and I've talked about this on the podcast before with you, but, Team West Herr is so much more than just the players on the Buffalo football team. We're all Team West Herr. You and I are Team West Herr. The employees are Team West Herr. If you're a customer, you're Team West Herr. If you live in Western New York, you know what? You can be part of Team West Herr too.
Right. And in the off season, who knows what changes might be made? Who knows what guests we can get that are going to be coming to be a part of this as well? So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. And, I'm very thankful, as I've said before, just people, tuning in this season and giving us a chance, whether they're listening to it on Apple Podcasts, watching it on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. I mean, we've tried to put it everywhere that's convenient for people, but just grateful that, we have a great team here and we've been able to do this all season long.
Well, looking forward to next season already. And it sure has been a quick season this season. Thank you so much for your time. And we will look forward to seeing you on the next exciting edition of the Team West Herr podcast. For Brad Gelber, I'm Clay Moden. Let's go Buffalo.